Yo, yo, what's up? This is Spencer Chamberlain from Under Oath. Tune in to JMR Music Reviews every Monday from 7 p.m. right here on Twitch. Don't forget to follow for more alternative music content, including deep dives and episodic lineups. Peace.
Good evening, my friends. I hope you're all well. The time is finally here. I'm here with my friend Brian from the incredible Halcyon Wonder, and we're going to deep dive their latest EP, Isolate, in full. Brian, how are you doing, buddy?
I am doing just splendid.
Just splendid. That is.
Just splendid.
That is. I mean, what more can you ask for? Deep dive time, Vera. Welcome in, Cuzzy. Beautiful Brian and the sex god Johnny. That is our side project. That is coming soon. So yeah, get ready for that song. Amazing. I mean, that's an intro, isn't it, Brian? I'm happy with that, man.
Honestly.
I mean, let's I'd pay for that. Nice. You're my fiance, you have to say that. Right, let's. It started in a typical JMR way. Let's start and go through Isolate. So, how long did this piece of music take you guys to write? And like always, did the set list of the EP always? Was it always going to open with Empathy, or did it kind of assemble itself very naturally?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
I think as anybody who's ever produced or written music, you kind of have an idea what things are going to look like as you go into it. And by the time you're done with it, it's pretty much always completely different or changed.
Yeah.
We had Isolate pretty much written, not the EP, but as the single, pretty much written and good to go. And we kind of figured that was going to be our first single off of it. But we also knew, like, you can't just open an EP like that. So we're going to need one of our heavier tracks or something to kind of punch you in the face right away. So we knew there was going to be something coming. We just didn't know if it was going to be Empathy or Discovery. And then as Empathy was the second one we tracked, and at that point we knew basically, okay, this is going to be how we're going to kick this thing off.
Nice.
And consequently, that's how we kicked it off live too. It just felt so natural.
Amazing. I love that. So obviously that huge moment that we're obviously all so proud of you when you recently supported the almighty Dayseeker, obviously with Caskets and Thornhill. God, that tour was good. I was lucky enough to catch it in LA when we were there, and it was amazing. I was just very upset, obviously you guys weren't at that one, but anyway, what was that like for you guys? I bet that was a real pinch me moment.
You know, we still get asked about it.
Yeah.
And I'm still almost speechless. Like I knew who Caskets were going into it.
Yeah.
A little bit, and I was really into like one of their songs when everything was announced. So we'll get to them in a second, but just Dayseeker.
I know.
I mean, a lot of you have seen me in the chat quite a bit, and you know that I am a huge supporter of Dayseeker and Rory.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
just the dude is just a freak.
He
is unreal vocally. He is unreal with his writing ability. I mean, he's just otherworldly, honestly. So getting to open that thing was, I mean, a dream come true is just not even close enough.
Yeah.
I remember, everybody's got our band chats, which any bands in the chat, make sure no one ever sees your band chat. I think that can end a group real quick. But anyway, we were texting on there when the announcement came through that the tour was going to come through Minneapolis. And it was like, oh, this would be so cool. But then you saw there's already 4 bands on there. It's like, no way they're going to have local support. Like this tour, you kidding me? 3 bands that have never toured in the U.S. are coming. And with Dayseeker's headline tour, which they never got to play that album because of COVID, it was like, this is going to be massive. There's no way they're going to have locals on there, whatever. Within an hour of us sending that messages, I had the promoter text me and was like, you guys want on this? And I don't know if I could have responded any quicker. And, typically it's like, hey guys, do you have this day available? Can we make this work? Let's really try. I did not care. I said yes, and we said we'll figure it out. I don't
Yeah.
care how many vacation days you guys got to change. If you need to go back to school to get a different job, you're gonna have to do it. Like we are playing this show. Nothing will stop us from playing this show. And of course, they all agreed with that. Yeah, it was unreal. And when you play with such great bands, it's one thing. The other thing is to like meet them as people and just see these are genuine, awesome people. To talk with Rory at the end of the show, and just for him to be just real chill and just encouraging to us was was phenomenal. You look up to these people, and I think most of us do a pretty good job of realizing that they are humans. They're still going to make mistakes, and they're just incredibly talented humans, but they're still like us.
Yeah.
But to meet one face to face and be like, man, this, you know what? I chose a good dude to look up to.
Yeah.
So
I remember, like I think it was like the morning after you did that show, and I remember you did a post about it, and Rory like commented on it instantly, and I just thought that just shows what a tour package, and the fact that they got local I mean, it was just such a huge opportunity, and again something that you guys will never forget. All the Halcyon Wonder fans will not forget. Yeah, absolutely amazing. Such a cool moment.
I mean, honestly, it's one of those moments where it's kind of like, where do we go from here? Like, I mean, we kind of joked, or like, we might as well hang it up now. But on a serious side, it's like, I think we just played our ideal show. We already got to do it, and we're not a big deal at all. We got to do it in our hometown, which was phenomenal.
So I tell you where you guys go from here. Very soon, I think they're going to announce their new album. So you're obviously going to be the main support on that tour. There you go.
That'd be fantastic.
There you go.
And if Caskets needs somebody to come over on the cheap, we could figure something out too.
No joke. I mean, I hate to say this, and obviously, Chris and the boys, I don't speak for them, but I'm very near and dear with Chris McIntosh, and I'm sure I could maybe. You know what? Never say never. Let's say that. Let's cap all the dream tour talk, because we will get you guys over here one day. And let's start off with the EP and go, like you were saying, it's a punch in the face, a great intro. Tell us about track 1, Empathy.
So in the last couple of years, we've probably noticed there's been a lot of crap happening around the world.
Yep.
And I wanted to write a song that showcased that, but it was kind of where do you go with all that without it being a 11-minute song of just chaos. So I just kind of had this thought when I was driving home from soccer, and it was football. I was driving home, and I just had this thought, like, we have an empathy problem. More than a pandemic, more than just the other garbage that's going on with wars and political nightmares, we have an empathy problem.
Yeah.
We've forgotten how to take care of one another. And it's really got me thinking about what that word entailed. And it's not just about having sympathy for somebody, but it's having a true understanding of where they're at. Realizing that we can't just easily line up the worst thing that's happened to me and the worst thing that's happened to you and say that we're on equal playing ground with that, because it's all relative.
Yeah.
It's always going to be relative. So to try and put ourselves in the shoes of somebody else and know, like, this is the worst thing that they're experiencing. It doesn't matter if that's if their goldfish died, or if it was their grandma, or even their mother in my case. Like, when those things happen, the worst thing that's happened to you is on par with the worst thing that's happened to somebody else. And I think that that's where that empathy comes from. Realizing that this is the worst day of their life, and I've had the worst day of my life, and now we're going to live in that together. Realizing that that's that empathy, and then just kind of realizing that because of these things that I've gone through, they've really paved the way for me to experience and to learn empathy in myself.
I think that was amazing how you've explained that, dude, and yeah, I absolutely love that. That is such a good way to get a feel for the track and the way you were feeling when you wrote it. And also, big love to you, what a hero. So, we've already got a lot of... I'm excited to hear all of this. We've also got... we already know, after just talking about Rory, but let's do just another quick one before we click play on Empathy. We've already got a question, and for anybody new in the chat, deep dives when I'm lucky enough to be joined by the bands. If you've got any questions for Brian at all, get them in, and at the end of each song or whenever we'll go through them. So because he asked quite early on who inspired you to get into music, and I think that is that's quite a good one.
You know, I'd always listen to I'll just give a quick shout out too. So Jason Wanders, that's my guitarist, who's
Big
in
up
right
Jason.
now.
I'll buy my plane ticket now. Please.
Yeah, so he's on there right now, but he'll agree with this. So Switchfoot was a big influence for, I think, the majority of us.
Yeah.
In the band, not necessarily because of the type of music to start, but I think those the way that they wrote their songs really got us into music. And then for me, it was the emotional side of music that bands like Under Oath and Emery, Seos, and bands like that really.
You're speaking from my soul right now. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yep. So that was the music I feel like I really started to connect with right away. Even some of the sadder stuff like The Used, the first couple albums from The Used, just realizing like, oh, you can actually do something with all this emotion. This is kind of cool. I wonder if I can, try writing some of this, and I guess this is our attempt at that.
Amazing. So I think there's maybe a couple of people that have never heard Halcyon Wonder before. You were in for a treat, and like always, there'll be a link somewhere either in the stream or afterwards. Please go follow the guys and share them and let everybody know, because this band truly are incredible, and I'm not just saying that because how fond of them I am. Let's go then. No messing around. This is track 1, Empathy. Let me know what you think. Keep the questions flowing. For Jason as well, who's in chat, as well as Brian. Let's do it. Track 1, Empathy.
I've pondered
what an opening track. Lyrically, it's... I mean, you touched base on it. I'm an open book, which is what you said to me before the start about, obviously, some of the hard-hitting and personal lyrics you guys write about. And I smile through the pain. Just two lyrics there that I just think are absolutely huge and very impactful. Let's start immediately again with another good question from Cuzzy. When writing a song, what's the hardest part to get down?
Oh, that is a loaded question. I think maybe this will help. So our writing process, I think, looks very different. I think we were a little bit early to writing music in a post-COVID era. We write the majority of our music using Google Drive. So we're sharing files back and forth. We're rarely in the same room together. And that's just kind of how we've done it kind of this whole time, even before COVID. So aside from not playing live, it really didn't change a whole lot as far as us getting this EP written. So basically, our bassist Andy, he does a lot of the sequencing and those kinds of things. So a lot of times he'll come up with these skeletons, and then he'll send those off, and then the ones we really like, and I mean he'll punch out, I don't know, anywhere from 4 to 10 of those in like just a random month, it'll seem like. And that's when I think Jason really goes to town on it. He'll find, a certain part that I think he really connects with. He'll lay down some guitars, and then I honestly try not to get involved until he's pretty far along with that, because I kind of tend to get into the weeds. And at that point, it usually feels like we're onto something when the melodies just kind of seem like they're already there, if that makes sense. I can already kind of hear them. So in a way, it kind of takes me a little bit. It's not until I actually have the lyrics to go along with the melodies where I feel like it's something that's my own, because it almost feels like the melody was there the whole time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. Jason has said, for us, probably musical transitions and maybe lyrical motif, which I can imagine as writing music in a band being, pretty difficult.
Yeah, because as you've been a band for a while, you start to realize that you've got these patterns that you kind of fall into. For us, we've been realizing that we don't leave a lot of room in the music to breathe. That's what we struggle with when we're into the studio. It's like, okay, well, we got to give this a little bit of space here. It can't just be, otherwise you flatline your song. And we've been guilty of that in our previous stuff, for sure. So I think we've been slowly getting better at that as we've been kind of figuring out what our sound is. And as I was kind of saying to you, Johnny, before this, now that we're starting to work on the new EP, we're really taking that seriously. Let's give some more room. There's some of these bands that we absolutely love, many of which you name that we got to play with this year, and they do such a good job with giving some space. Yeah. And so that's really what we're striving for on this. So definitely those musical transitions instead of, all right, here's a 40-second fade in, and then go really hard with a breakdown, and then a super long outro. It's just, how can we get a little bit more creative with this and really entice the listener right away without having to be super heavy, destroy it with a breakdown immediately, if that makes sense.
No, I love it. I think that is such an amazing part that's probably very difficult to get down, like you say, is leaving space for like you said, the music to breathe. And I think that is something you will only, think of. You mentioned Under Oath. Let's go back to, I know it's not even the same lineup, but you go back to Cries of the Past and how almost chaotic and deathcore like that band was, and it was absolutely mad. And then you think you go forward nearly 20 years to something off Erase Me, like I Hate It, and that right there is the transition of a band becoming better at writing music. And I just think that is perfect how you described it. Let's move on to what is the big boy of the EP, the title track. Talk to us about Isolate.
Isolate was one that kind of came together very quickly, lyrically. And there's only a couple of times in my career with doing this that's happened. Probably, I think this is maybe the third time, maybe. And I think the difficult part of it is because everyone is experiencing isolation because of the pandemic. But what I really wanted to get across was, for somebody like me who struggles with depression and anxiety, the fact that you got more alone time, most of the time it's like, yeah, like I love that. Like I just had my wife got me the best birthday present this week. I got the day to myself. I went and watched a movie by myself. I loved it. Like that's what I need to recharge, especially having a toddler at home.
Yeah.
But the difference with the pandemic was that time I need to recharge as an inward person was now mandatory. And I don't mean that from the government necessarily, because I am full for everything that was allowed to combat this pandemic.
Yeah.
I am all for it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you could continue to do things the way that you were doing them. So it felt like this forced isolation, and again, not in the sense that somebody's making me stay home, but like just realizing that we need to together to get through this thing. But that's what I mean by forced isolation. So it no longer felt optional. So then I kind of had this this imagery in my head kept coming up of, I've essentially locked the doors from the inside. I know that I kind of need to. And then one of the lyrics that I really connected with right away that I wrote was talking about essentially the blinds or the shutters, just kind of becoming a barricade, like we barricaded ourselves in, but I've left enough space there so I can still see what's going on out there. And then the big question asking the entire time is, do you miss me? And ending with that line is, I wouldn't feel so lonely if I knew you missed me. Starting to worry that because of that anxiety I struggle with, wondering if, like, am I even going to recover from this? I do okay on my own, but I still like have the desire for people to want to know me, want to be near me, even when I don't necessarily want to be around them, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
so that's really the heart of the song. Just asking that question of, do you really miss me? Because that might make the difference in the situation that we're in.
Again, powerful and relatable to myself and probably to a lot of people. So let's do it. This is the incredible title track. This is Isolate, Keep the Questions Flowing. Cuzzy, we'll get to yours after this one, my friend. I think what we've gathered there is that Jason is a beast with a guitar and vocals and his big pint of green tea. What a track. Again, that track has always, every time I've listened to it, like stirred real personal emotions in me, personally, but the more, this is why I love deep dives, you've come and explained more, and those words start to mean more, and I just think that's amazing songwriting. Lyrically there, that is what we like to call on this stream a chef's kiss moment. Amazing, honestly, so good, boys, so good. There's a lot of love for Jason Scream. Is Jason the new Corey Bueller with those leads and screams? Yes, he is. Jason can now drone Trivium. Fun fact, amazing.
Go.
And don't worry, you know what I think of your lead vocals, my friend. Chef's kiss as well. The whole band is just chef's kiss. Let's move on to track 3, Discovery. What can you tell us about this one?
So, the last couple of times we released something, there's always been one track where I just wasn't into it, basically up until we were about ready to go to the studio.
Right.
I won't say which one that was on our previous release, but Discovery was that one for me on this.
Right.
It just had a different feel to it. It was less metalcore-esque, and so I struggled for a little bit on this one. This was probably the last one I did vocally, I think, as far as the choruses. But then the whole thing came together. There's the most words I think in this song. I am singing faster than I think I have ever before. It's like quasi rap almost, but everything came out in just a matter of an hour or so. So yeah, my viewpoints on my own song changed like 180 degrees pretty quick within like 1 hour on this one. Now, as far as what it's about, it's about a extremely dark day in my life, which I think people would probably relate with that. If this is all there is for me here, why would I stay? And starting to ask some of those kinds of questions. And then realizing that there is something there. And for me, I didn't really know what that was going to be, but it ended up being a little guy that's only 2 feet tall right now. You know, I was married at the time. I have supportive family. I've got all these things. What I'm realizing is depression isn't logical.
Nope. Yeah.
So you can have everything and still feel like you have nothing a lot of the time. And there are pieces of that I think equate down to just thankfulness. I think is a big part of that. But it's hard to be thankful for things you don't realize you have. And I think that's kind of the heart that Discovery came out of. And then it was kind of more of this celebration song for me. And that's not something that we typically do, honestly. We write, I think, heavy songs for the most part. I'm not saying like heavy musically. They're a little bit heavy musically, but I think lyrically we usually write pretty heavy stuff. And for this one, I think it's probably one of our more positive songs that we've done so far. Just again, that realization, and then to physically almost say out loud, I need to change this. I need to turn this around. I do have this purpose. So yeah, that's the heavy side of it. The light side of that is Jason just said.
I love
the placeholder for this song was The Devil Wears Slippers. And I don't quite understand why. I know like it had some interesting tonalities to it when it first was showing up, which is probably why I wasn't a huge fan to start with. But anyway.
That's again, thank you so much for being so honest about everything. It's really powerful. But then I love that we've got Jason just banging out the amazing, hilarious facts like, yeah, like these screams, but that was thanks to green tea. And oh yeah, fun fact, this was called The Devil Wears Slippers. So yeah, let's go. This is track 3, The Devil Wears Slippers / Discovery. Keep the questions coming. Man, I mean, I absolutely love that track. I just think it's got a bit of a different, like you said, the tone to that track's much different, and instrumentally it was interesting that Jason obviously touched base on that he was influenced by like Prada and Slipknot whilst writing that, because guitar wise I do think that track has something a bit different than the other singles. It was a really cool song, really cool song. And let's just go, Vero, just seen that you've got 791 monthly listeners, which is, and it annoys me, criminally underrated, which we go through all the time, but at the same time, like Brian says, not gigging at the moment, and after the back of the EP coming out not that long ago, I think that's pretty good. It's something to be proud of, boys, and to build on.
Yeah, I think it's always keeping those things in check as a band, because it's pretty easy to get obsessed with the numbers. But yeah, looking at that, we haven't played. I mean, it was the biggest show we've ever played.
Yeah.
But that was still back in May. It was like May 1st, I think, actually. So it's been a couple of months since we've really done anything, which if you're not doing anything, it's hard to keep up on your social.
Sure.
So, yeah, and we're writing right now. So, I mean, there's always, the numbers are always going to backslide off there, and people need new stuff. So that's what we decided to work on.
Amazing. We'll touch on that towards the after we finish this, the last single on the EP. Let's talk about the final track, Paradise.
This is a heavy one for sure.
Yeah.
So I'll try to go into as much of it as I can. Again, I'm a complete open book, but this one is not my story. It's somebody else's. So I'll do my best.
Of course, sure. Yeah, just what you can, dude. Appreciate you at all.
So Paradise was written for a friend of ours who produced some music for us in the past. And it was a really cool experience when we got to work with him. I mean, he's a phenomenal guitarist, just an amazing dude. And we actually got to go out to North Carolina to work with him. This is a couple years ago, so he didn't do anything on the Isolate EP. But he had this backyard where we'd get to hang out. So it was like every morning we'd go out with a cup of coffee. He'd be out there playing acoustic guitar, and because it's North Carolina, you've got all kinds of like tropical plants going on back there. It was just like his own personal paradise. And there was a treehouse there that had been there the entire time him and his family had been there. So that's just really what they had kind of grown together. That was his paradise. About a year after we had released that stuff, we got word that he had attempted to take his life, which really threw us for a loop because it's just not something that you would expect. Which is another reminder that we really never know what everyone's dealing with on a personal basis. So keep people close. But thankfully he's still with us, and he's done everything he's needed to do to kind of get back on a more healthy track, which is great. But the question for this song was, how do we do this in a way that would bring his story justice? Because I didn't want to just write something generic, and sure, it might have turned out good still. I don't know, but I took the symbolism from that garden and from that paradise that he and his family had created. So that's where the title comes from, with Paradise. And you'll see that the beginning of the song, it's talking about just the kind of the growth, the way that they nurtured their family in the same way that they nurtured those gardens to come up to become that paradise. The second verse is talking about that treehouse which they built, which is now all weathered. And then really the question that's kind of all-encompassing of the story is essentially he's taking care of this thing which is his paradise, or his life, his familyhood, and he's taking care of it, and for no fault of his own, he's watching it crumble. So the wear on the treehouse and their home, which was actually hit by a hurricane a few years ago, just watching everything crumble down around him, and again asking that question, like, is this something that I did? Like, why is this happening to me? I've done everything in my power to nurture my family, my paradise, and yet it's being taken away from me. And asking those questions. So I decided to kind of write in kind of more symbolism that way, instead of straight on, just to kind of do his story more justice. Instead of making him just another, he was depressed, so this was the outcome kind of a situation. Because, I just felt like he deserved more than that. And then you'll see, it was difficult to write for sure, but he was also is such a great guitar player. we decided to put in some leads that typically we wouldn't normally do. They're a little bit more stadium rockish, or there's probably a better way to describe that, and I'm sure Jason's shaking his head at me right now. But it's a lead that we wouldn't typically do. It's not so much of metalcore. It's pretty rocky, and I was pretty unsure about it up until the point where I heard it back in some of the mixes, to be quite honest. But I just remembered, like, hey, this is something that he would love. This is something that he would probably write. And I was like, you know what? It's in there. I don't even care. Like, let's put it in there. It needs to be in there now. And yeah.
Yeah.
Heavy one for sure for us.
Yeah. From a musical, just like on a musical, but obviously the subject and everything is incredibly personal to you guys, and it's very obviously emotional and very driven that way. But from a musical side, for me, this is actually my favourite track on the EP. I think I remember you guys being in the stream when we played Paradise. I think I remember that, and I remember just the guitar work on this track was just amazing, just talking musically. But as you guys are aware just from listening, also hello my friend Evie, welcome in. We know how emotional this track is, as Brian has so amazingly explained what it's written about. So enjoy. This is the final track. We will touch base afterwards, get your final questions in, and don't forget, if you've not following these guys on Spotify, Apple, whatever the other ones that nobody uses is called, please do, because as you can see, they're genuine amazing guys, and they're so ridiculously underrated. This is the final track of Isolate. This is Paradise. Keep the final questions coming in for both of the boys.
Garden of Eden, could I know that the fibers I'd grow would come to form this very road? How could this happen to me? How can my life's meaning conceive to run? To find any attention, giving like my love's not enough. From beneath the debris, I wonder, was this fated for me? Was it something I said that brought my dreams to the top of my head? Was it something I said that brought my dreams to the top of my head?
You see, that was so good I forgot to unmute myself because that was that good. Lyrically, it's just another one of those moments after you've so articulately explained the reason behind the song and everything. Just lyrically, all that the lyrics always hit me so, like, on a personal level. But again, that's why I love doing these, because it really does shine a new light on it. Just amazing, boys. Guitar work. I got to be honest, from a selfish point of view, more of those big rock, arena rock guitars, please, because I just think you want to talk about giving the songs space to breathe. They do a good job of that. I just think it's amazing, absolutely amazing, and a stellar EP, so good. So before we call it there, let's talk a bit, or as much as you want to go into, maybe what you're looking to achieve sound-wise, or some of the stuff you might be touching on your new EP, which you are currently, are you writing or recording?
We're just writing right now.
Amazing. What are some of what like soundscapes or anything like that are you going for in this new EP?
I think it's a good transition from Paradise, honestly. I'm right there with you. Paradise is my favorite song on the EP, and I think what we did well on that one was we kind of said we don't care about what people are asking for from us anymore. We just want to be true to what we want to write. To write music that we want to hear, and then put messages I think that people relate to over the top of those. And I think we did that well on this EP. So we're really proud of this EP, of the Isolate EP. And I think moving forward with what we're writing for this next one is going to be to go more in line with what we do with Paradise. So we're not going to make everything as direct, potentially. It's certainly not going to be, we're not going to worry about the consumerism part of it. Like, It's not going to be, I don't care about it being commercial. We're not on a label. We don't even have management at the moment. So nobody's forcing us to go any direction. So why would we pigeonfoot ourselves into a spot that we don't want to be?
Absolutely.
We feel like this EP is the Isolate EP has really helped us to kind of determine what our sound is, and we're really proud of that. So I would imagine that as we push forward with this EP, you're going to hear a lot of stuff similar to Paradise and Isolate specifically. So it's going to be the high-end vocals with kind of the grit on it, as I kind of naturally get on the top end. We've played around with there being a little bit less screaming in some portions, so we might do like a heavier track here, we might do a little bit lighter here, and then, like I talked about in the beginning, really trying to create more space in these songs, which so far in the music beds that we've created, I think we've done a good job of that. And it's not even necessarily to open the song up to breathe so that the vocals can be there, but it's to open it up so that there's room to feel something, to get the point of the song across in those moments. So we don't know how many songs this EP is going to be. It's going to kind of turn. I guess that decision will be made once all the songs are written. But we've got some solid music beds already. One song is just about done. And I think it encapsulates all the positive things off of Isolate, and we're really excited about it. It's one of those things that we haven't been able to play any of it live yet, which is kind of going back to like what Cuzzy had asked at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
We typically get the writing and we do a lot of the recording, having not played a lot of the whole songs, or certainly not the whole EP, together in a room until we're getting show ready. So having to write with that in mind to make sure that it's going to feel correctly in a live scenario is certainly a challenge as well. So we're definitely trying to take that approach with the new stuff as well. Really make sure that we're not having to rely on 40 tracks to pull it off live, being that there's only 4 of us. To write with some of that in mind, but at the same time making sure that we get we're achieving the feel and the emotion. We're getting that across to the listener in every aspect.
That's exciting, man. Very, very exciting. I do think you've really hit your stride with this EP. So kind of like a continuation of some of those big moments from this EP, and a natural progression, as you've called it, I think can only be exciting if you love Halcyon Wonder.